Kris, what are you doing?
I'm trying to get some equity out of this house. It works. Okay, hurry. Oh yeah. Did you know that the average homeowner right now is sitting on $185,000 worth of equity? They don't know how to get it out. They don't know what to do with it. And today I'm going to show you 3 ways to access it. More importantly, what should you do with it?
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Tell you what, the very first house I bought looked a lot like houses in this neighborhood. Actually, do you see that right over here, that 1350? That's a walk down into like a basement apartment. It had something like that. And what was so cool is my basement paid for my whole upstairs. But what was smart is when I bought it $40,000 below the market. Check it out, this kid is mowing the lawn like a good boy. Let me tell you what I did. After I owned the house for a year, I went to the bank and I said, I need to get some money out of this house because I want to buy another one. And you know what happened? Bank gave me 20 grand. All the money I needed for buying my very next house, and boom, 2 houses became 5, 5 became 20. After 25 homes, I was financially free. The equity in your house is like the key to becoming free. Oh, it sounded so good. You should replay that. The equity in your house is like the key to becoming free. So today I gotta share with you the 3 different major methods of how you access it without selling the house. You wanna keep the house. That's like a part of your strategy to getting ahead. And then I'm gonna share with you some cool things that you can do with it. It's gonna be dope. So let's start by first defining what home equity is. Think about it this way. You bought a house for $200,000. Today it's worth $400,000. So the difference between what you owe and what it's worth is called equity. So if I owe 200 grand on it, but it's worth 400, then the difference between 200,000 and 400,000, that's $200,000. So I owe 200,000, but I also have $200,000 worth of equity. That equity might be exactly what you need to hit the jackpot on an investment strategy. Because here's the truth, you throw money into a 401k, an IRA, you do the normal stuff that your CPA and your friends and neighbors and your bosses tell you to do, you're never gonna be financially free, right? First of all, you got an 85% chance of not even liking what you do for a living. But worse, when you actually look at the rate that you're saving and that it's growing at its abysmal single-digit ROIs, 30-year average producing 5-6%, by the time you're retired, you're not gonna have enough money. I don't know why everyone is just too dumb to do the basic math and realize that the system isn't working. Well, I figured that out when I was 21 years old, and that's when I changed everything by saying, I gotta put my money in something that can grow better for me. And you know what? My money grows so good for me that it allows me to have really cool, fun toys like this. Check this out, this is my 50 caliber that makes all my neighbors nervous when I drive around on this. Just kidding, I'm in Utah. They're not, they're like, oh, I know who I'm gonna bunk up with when it all hits the fan. But here's the reality. The game of real estate, I'm averaging 25 to 50% annual ROIs. So I kick the trash out of like 401ks and IRAs and traditional vehicles. That's why I was financially free after just 4.5 years of investing in real estate. How did I do that? It was the home equity in my house that made that possible. So the reason why today we're talking about 3 ways to pull money out of your house is because only 1 in 5 Americans are doing it. That means that 80% of them have money in their house like, look at this cute little house, and it's filled with money. If I just knew how to get it out, I could do some really cool things. Today I'm gonna show you how to do some really cool things with 3 different ways of how you pull it out. Then what do you do with it? First of all, were you here in 2020, 2021 when like the values of homes went incredibly high? Check it out. The average amount of home equity in the US is right now currently at its record high. In 2021 alone, the average equity increased by almost $48,000, which is why the average mortgage out there homeowner currently has an equity stake of $185,000. So the point is, if you own real estate and you're watching this video and you haven't accessed any of that equity, then you might be missing out on one of the smartest things that you could be doing right now. becoming an investor. And by the way, if you're a subscriber and you're like, what's he talking about? You have not subscribed long enough. You got to watch more of my videos. If you're not a subscriber, fix that right now. Let me tell you how you gain your financial freedom and independence. It's called what Warren Buffett says, you got to make money work for you. So when you pull it out of the house, you put it somewhere where it's doing something more than the cost of actually pulling it out in the first place. That's called positive arbitrage. I borrowed the money at 5%. I put it over here earning 25%. Oof, I'm making like 5 times more money over here than I am over here. Ooh. All right, check it out. The first way to pull money out is through a HELOC. Stands for a home equity line of credit. A HELOC is a revolving line of credit similar to a credit card that you can draw on as needed. The draw period is usually for 5 to 10 years, and it's followed by a repayment period when draws are no longer permitted, usually for 10 or 20 years. Because HELOCs are secured by an asset, meaning the equity in your home, the bricks, it's like a bank account of bricks.
Okay, kid, you want to throw bricks? Go ahead, throw another one.
And they tend to have a higher credit limit and better interest rates than credit cards, personal loans. Bottom line is the banks say, you know what, we don't like to own real estate, but we love to lend on it. And so I see you own a nice little house right here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna let you borrow a whole bunch of that equity out of it on like a credit card, a home equity line of credit, and it's gonna be super cheap money. The first home equity line of credit that I ever got was for right around $20,000. Not a ton of money. And I did something stupid when I got it. I went and bought a BMW on eBay, and I drove it around trying to sell it and flip it and make $4,000 or $5,000. In the end, I didn't flip it. I lost a little bit of money, basically had the equivalent of $600 a month payments before I got rid of it 5 months later, and I learned my lesson. I had made my first money in real estate. That's where I was gonna make the rest of my money. So I used that $20,000 HELOC once I had sold the car and got it repaid, and you know what I did with it? I used it as a down payment on a house. That house I later sold, I made over $130,000 on it. Guess what I did with the equity in that house? I used it to buy another house, and guess what? I made 6 figures on that house. So if you have equity in a home, this is one really great viable strategy for funding really smart investment plays. But Kris Krohn, investing is risky. Listen up, the riskiest thing, the greatest risk of all, is investing in something that you know is broken, never gonna work, a 401k, an IRA, put your head down, work hard at a job you don't even like. That's the greatest risk of all. Worse, you don't even like you anymore, right? Like, you just become a grumpy crotchety pants that don't even like who you are the more you do something you don't even like in the first place.
You ran over the penguin. Put a penguin in my spot. You ran over the penguin. What are you talking about?
I get it. So investing is a little bit risky, but guess what? At least it gives you a shot of getting where you're trying to go if you can still remember of your dreams. The second way to access equity in your home is getting what's called a home equity loan. Not to be confused at all with a home equity line of credit. This is just a fixed loan. This is where you go to the bank and they're like, well, you already got a first mortgage in place. You know, you owe $200,000, the house is worth $400,000, and they say, well, how about we just give you another fixed loan for $100,000 and we won't touch the first mortgage? And you're like, great, it's cheap money, I can take that money, give me $100,000. Now, I gotta tell you, I like a home equity line of credit a little bit more because when I'm not using it, I don't gotta pay on it. If I pull with this fixed home equity loan out, like $100,000, I feel like I have to use all $100,000 of it on a smart, intelligent investment. But what if I have an investment that only needs $70,000? Then I have $30,000 sitting in my bank account earning me nothing, lowering my overall ROI. So you can do this. I don't do this, but it's a viable option. Option number 3 is what's called a cash out refinance. A cash out refinance results in less equity in your home, which means that the lender is taking on greater risk. As a result, closing cost fees and interest rates can be higher than a standard refinance. You're basically restructuring the whole loan. You're like, well, I owe $200,000 on this puppy and it's worth $400,000, but I'm just gonna do a refinance. I'm gonna redo it all and I'm gonna get a new loan for $320,000. Well, they say, well, we need $200,000 to pay off the first mortgage, but there's $120,000 left over, so you get $120,000 worth of cash. Now, this is also not my favorite option unless you know that you need all $120,000. Let me share with you a real secret. You start by doing a home equity line of credit because it's free. Go to 2 different credit unions, have them price it out. They'll evaluate your home through an automated system. No fees, don't have to pay for an appraisal. And one of them will give you more money than the other. One of them will have a slightly better rate. Go with that bank. Get the money on a home equity line of credit. Remember, if you don't use it, you don't have to pay for it. Then go invest. Buy the thingies. Make the money. and know how much of it you used. At that point, you can then do what's called a rate and term refinance and lock it in at a low rate so it's not variable and it doesn't go up and down. That's a good strategy. Oh, Kris Krohn, you're good. You're real good. You almost got me. But do I look like a fool? If I take equity out and I get a pile of cash, it's gonna increase my payment. So then what do? Now I'm worse off. You're right. If you pull this out and you go buy a boat, that's stupid because your mortgage is going to go up and your boat also probably going to cost you some money as well. Which means that the only responsible reason to access home equity is to buy something that makes you money. And here's my rule. Put your money into something that pays you. When you put money in a 401k, does it pay you? No. Does your IRA pay you? No. Does your S&P Stocks 500 pay you? No. They're not really qualified investments in my book. I got to put my money somewhere where it makes me money. Literally, I want to make money while I sleep. That's why I was retired after just 4.5 years at the age of 26, and then had to ask myself, what is life really about now that I don't have to work? If you want to know how to do that, you have a choice. You either go figure it out on your own, or you go find an expert that's willing to do it with you. And you know what? My purpose in life is to create 1 million millionaires. And you might be the next one. This year, I've helped over 500 people start their journey of becoming multi-millionaires. I've helped them access equity out of their home or leverage 401ks, IRAs, savings, and we're investing it in real estate, and we're always targeting a minimum 25% ROI. Because a single home, equity from your home on a single purchase, over 20 years can grow into $4.3 million by transferring into home 5 years later into 3 homes and then 5 years later into 10 homes and et cetera. But if you average my typical ROI of 34%, now that's turning into $17 million. This is why 90% of all millionaires did it in the game of real estate. And if you have equity, you can too. Click the link below, learn about partnering with me, get with a member of my team. Might be for you, might not. I only like to work with smart, bright, happy humans. So if you don't qualify for that, do not click the link. But if you're genuinely curious about what it would look like to be in partnership with an expert that's done $2 billion worth of real estate, over 6,500 verifiable projects, click the link, let me show you my track record, and who knows, maybe we will be crushing it in real estate together. So check it out. You got some equity out of your house, your parents' house, a friend's house, and it's like, got it. I got the money, Kris. Where am I supposed to put it? There's 3 different forms of investing, 3 different ways of finding really good deals in the game of real estate. And if you want to know what they are, click this link. I'll show you right now. Okay, and higher enough so I'm above, so I want to see that I'm attached to the, yeah, like that.
And I like going home.
Can you see Jonathan?
No. Okay.
Can you see it's a house?
Yeah.
Change your angle, make sure you see it's a house. And when I say house,